How's it going, guys? Hope you had a good day. Hope you had a good week. Because today, we're going to make some sick, deep, and heavy bass house atmospheres. Just like Matroda, like Joyryde, like Tchami, like so many other producers. In fact, you can hear it right now. That's what we're going to make. So, let's get into Ableton and let's make it. All right, so here we are in Ableton. This is my DAW of choice. And we don't have much to start with. This is what we have to start with. Very little. We have very little to start with. So let's change that. We have this serum patch here, and this is what we're going to make our atmosphere with. So we just have the initial patch. This is just the initial patch here. This is what, that's what it sounds like. So the first thing we want to do is we want to detune this guy. Or actually, we want to create unison with it. It's already kind of detuned. And so, now it sounds like this. Ooh. And notice how it kind of, with the random here, it kind of phases in and out, which is a good start. So now, if we turn this filter on and just have a low filter, maybe, around 500 hertz. Just like that. I don't know, that's good enough, fine, whatever. Now it sounds like this. And now it's starting to sound like an atmosphere or a pad of some kind. But it could use a lot more beef. And that is where oscillator B comes in. So we're going to change the wavetable of this guy here to our basic shapes and just leave it on a sine. And the reason why we want this is because we want different waveforms to have different fundamentals is what they're called. Different little waves popping up. So the sine wave will have kind of a different pattern just on the low end. I mean, this is just a pure sine right now compared to this, and it also gives more of a tonal center. So we're not going to detune this. We're going to keep it in unison here to kind of keep that center, that tonal center. So and then we'll have a sub. And this guy will make into a square wave. So now we have a square, a saw, and a sine all together. Maybe we'll turn this guy down a little bit. So now it sounds like, I should make sure the filter is covering it. Now it sounds like this. That. So you can hear it's a little bit more full, and that's because there's different sets of fundamentals getting added in there, but it's pretty static. It's like, it's not, you can hear it. It's moving a little bit because of the phasing of the detuning, but that's it. So let's change that. The first thing we can do that's kind of actually one of my favorite things to do is called RM. And it's right there. And I think it's super underrated. Everybody talks about FM, but RM, which is called ring modulation, is also a very fun effect. So what we can do is, this is getting ring modulated by this. So if we turn it up a little bit, I'll hold the key while I turn it up so you can hear the difference. Hear how it's kind of like phasey, almost like if you know what a flanger is, it sounds kind of like a flanger, not quite. So that's kind of a fun effect. So, and what we can also do is take this LFO and put it on there, and maybe not all the way, maybe like that. And now when I play it, and actually let's turn this rate up a little bit because the quarter is too fast. I think like a bar is fine. So now, when it goes up, it's phasing more, and when it goes down, it's more smooth. So now we have kind of more motion throughout it, but we can do better, I think. So another thing we can do that I love to do is add hyper and dimension. And this is crazy. Like, all I had to do was turn this on. This is just the default setting, and listen to this. So now it's like phasing in and out and in stereo. And actually we could turn up the dimension a little bit too. So let's listen to that as we turn it up. So now it seems to be going in and out kind of at a different rate. So yeah, there's that effect. And then what else could we do? Oh, we could also add a little distortion to this guy. And just tube distortion's fine. But when we do that, we get too much. It gets a little bit too crispy. We'll leave it around there. And then what we can do is modulate that rate, or that drive right there. Just a little bit is fine. And then, so you notice it's got a little bit more crisp to it, and it still has motion too. So yeah, that's definitely what you want. And by the way, this whole way, you can play with what you modulate. So the fun part about these is you've got your fundamental like base of these waveforms here and this filter, and that's all you need to start. And then you can just start modulating stuff. Like you know, there's no right way to, I mean, some stuff sounds better than other ways, but yeah, there's almost no wrong answer. So yeah, you can keep going with this. And then I think, yeah, that'll do it for this patch here. But one key step that we need to do is make this louder, because right now it's way too quiet. So maybe if we'll just put out a simple MIDI pattern here. These drums are tuned to F, F minor. So we'll go ahead and just, oh, that's too high. Maybe not. Oh, that's the same one. There we go. So we'll start with a length of 1 measure. And we'll just have that going through. So you can keep it on the same note. Plenty of bass house tracks, have the same note atmosphere going through. So honestly, you could just leave it like this. Let's turn this up a little bit. See here. But that's, I mean, yeah, that's decent, but we're not going to leave it there, are we? So yeah, let's make this even more interesting. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit melodic. So now is about the time that we bring in some music theory. Not too much, but usually these dark kind of songs are in what's called the Phrygian mode. So that's like if you have all the white keys, if you're in C major, it would start from E. And the only difference from normal minor is that the second note is flat. So instead of being like this, I can't do it. But let me just play it. It's so much easier to just play it. So that's normal F minor, but if we do this, notice it's a little bit, it's down and it's definitely darker. So most bass house tracks and most darker tracks will be in that. So we can use that to kind of create darker tension here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this loop here, and I'm literally just going to move this up 1. So now it sounds like this. And you've probably heard that before. If you like bass house, that's a very common way to build up, tension and kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like the Jaws. It really is like the Jaws theme. Yeah, that's literally all it's doing. One way to kind of make this a little more interesting is to add a little kind of melodic stuff at the end. So what we could do is, let's see. One thing we could do is go like this. We'll shorten this. And then maybe we'll go to so this is the 7th here. This is E flat or D sharp, whatever Ableton decides it is. And then go back up to this here. now we have this little like this kind of movement at the end of it. It comes before the next measure, so the listener is suddenly like, oh, it's got a little extra something to it. So this is what it sounds like now. So yeah, that's one way we could do it. That's kind of like the rhythmic way to spice it up. And then another way, if we duplicate this, and if you watch my previous tutorial, you might already know this little hack, but the flat sixth is another way to really build tension and have tension with it. So let's go ahead and take this guy and just move him up. So from F, so the flat sixth. Oh, we're in the same key as the last one. So it's C sharp again. So it's that one right there. So now let's see what it sounds like. And that's pretty decent, I think. One other way we could do this, and this is kind of similar to a bass line, is we could add a little legato to it and a little bit of glide to it. So first off, we need to go into the patch. I don't think, yeah, it's not set to that already. So we'll have it mono because we're only playing one note. And then, yeah, we'll have the portamento, the legato kind of smoothly going between notes, and then the portamento taking time to do that. So it, like, instead of just going one note up to the next note, it kind of like slides up or glides, because that's what it is in other plugins. So if we set it, maybe we'll set it the same as, I think the last one we did 65. So we'll just do that again. And now we got to fix the MIDI. So let's go in here and we'll just extend this to overlap a little bit. We'll bring that back. And then I'll have this one slide down, but I won't have this one slide down. I kind of like the choppiness of the end there. But then, yeah, we'll have it slide up to the top there. Just like that. And then, yeah, maybe the same way. Glide down. All right, so let's listen to it now. So yeah, that's, I don't know, not sounding too bad. Now, one other thing we should probably do before we get too far ahead. So one characteristic of this is with different notes, it's going to be different volume levels. And especially, that's mainly because we have the bass, like fundamental, especially in bass frequencies, when you change the frequency but keep the velocity the same, it's going to change the overall volume, like output. So the lower frequencies are going to require more energy to output sound. So like if we play the F, it's going to be one level, but if we play like the C sharp way up there, it's going to be way higher in volume. So what we want to do is compress this a little bit. Not too much, but just enough to like kind of rein it in a little bit, because when we go to mix it, we'll really we will not like it if it's all over the place. So glue compressor kind of helps it stay together. So just cut the attack and release down. This will just kind of like push down the peaks. We don't need we don't need a release on it because it's going the whole time. So yeah, so let's do that. So let's listen for it and push the threshold down. We only really want about 3 to 4 dB of compression here. So let's move it, or let's play it and then move the threshold down. There we go. And yeah, with all the phasing going on too, you can just hear it, or you can hear it and see it just kind of going up and down. So yeah, and then we'll do some makeup gains. So I kind of want it to peak maybe around -3, or I'm sorry, -12-ish with the rest of the things. Let's see. Yeah, that's about right. And yeah, usually when you do this, yeah, the makeup's gonna end up being about the same as what the compression ends up being. So yeah, that's another thing. You can try like pumping the compression as a sound design tool. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I have seen that done. So that's another sound design trick. But yeah, this is pretty good as is. Now let's add a little something else to spice up the I don't know, the break here, and that would be a crash here, because that's pretty good as is, but you do want transition effects like this. So with the crash, this is what it sounds like. Oh, I should duplicate that loop before we do that. Otherwise it's just gonna stop. So Control D on the keyboard to duplicate that. There we go. Okay, so now let's listen to it. So yeah, you hear how like it helps with all that motion in the pad and in the atmosphere. It helps slower effects like that. It feels like we're still doing something even though we're waiting for this effects to happen. So that's a kind of bonus of this. One other fun little thing we can do is change the release of this filter. So if we do this, maybe if we automate the cutoff a little bit, we can make it even more interesting. So A to do automation, and then if we click the cutoff, we'll be able to control it. So it's at 51 right now. Let's push it. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it in the 4th measure here, just to finish it out. So we'll have it like 0.65. That's gonna be how high? How high is that gonna be? 13. Okay, yeah, that's I killed the automation. Yeah, let's see. We gotta go back to it. This is how you re-enable the automation. If you ever wondered how to do that, yeah, I wasn't planning on teaching that today, but there it is. And then, so yeah, we'll be up to 1300 hertz, which is, yeah, decent enough. We're starting to push into the clap territory though, so we don't want to go too much higher than that. But yeah, and then we'll bring it back down to 51. Come on, there it is. And by the way, if you're struggling with that, you hold shift and then it'll let you do like very small increments. So yeah, that's fine. All right, let's see what this sounds like with the crash. Actually, I'll start from the crash and you can hear what the release sounds like. So you hear how when the release is like brought up, it kind of builds more tension and it gets louder. And that's actually an effect. I think Matroda used it in one of his recent tracks. I think Pictures. I might be wrong about that. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong or if I'm right. I think I'm right. I don't know. But yeah, you can change kind of the energy level by automating the release on that too. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is our final product. I'll go ahead and play it from the start here, and then yeah, we'll be done for the day. Yeah, there you go. All right. Alright, so that's going to do it for today's tutorial. If you liked what you saw or if you learned something, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you know the next time I post one of these. And also be sure to follow me on social media because I post a lot of other tips and tricks and fun memes and whatever else. And I also post information on when I release tracks because I really use these techniques in my own tracks too. So if you want to hear those, be sure to follow me. Alright, have a great week. Stay safe, stay happy. I'll see you in the next one.